Who would have thought that a couple years down the line, the Seahawks-Broncos Russell Wilson trade would result in the Seahawks sticking with Geno Smith long term and the Denver Broncos not even having Russell Wilson on the roster? We're going to go through the Seahawks and the Broncos schedules today. Spoiler, not going to be a lot of wins. I didn't think you guys would think there would be a lot of wins, but welcome to 3 Point Lead. This is a Loeb's Leads podcast. I am Max Loeb. We're going to continue to walk through the Western schedules today. Without further ado, let's get into the Seattle Seahawks schedule. I'm going to put it on the screen for you here. And it's really tough to believe there are 8 wins here, to be honest with you. It's tough to believe there are 8 wins. You look at week 1 against the Denver Broncos, and I do think the Seahawks are the better team. I think the Seahawks can pull that one out, but if you guys have watched the New England Patriots video or the Miami Dolphins video I posted this past week, you would know that I have the Seahawks losing to both of those teams. I think you travel to New England, first home game in the Gerard Mayo era. New England takes that one. I think Miami, week 3, coming off of a mini bye, is really, really tough for the Seahawks to handle, especially in that secondary. And then week 4, you're going to travel to Detroit on Monday Night Football, the Calvin Johnson retirement game. Like, I don't think they have the facilities to win any of those 3 games. They can win the New England one. I don't think they will. Week 5, even the Giants coming off of a mini bye, that's an inferior opponent walking into your own place. I think the Seahawks do win that one, so they move to 2-3. Week 6, Thursday night, San Francisco, even though they're on the road, I can't pick against the 49ers here. I think San Francisco wins that one. Week 7, even the Seahawks are on a mini bye. I think Atlanta's a better team. Week 8, I think Buffalo is a better team. Week 9, hosting the Rams, it's tough because the Rams are coming off of their mini bye. But Seattle's beaten them before. Like, I got a really funny feeling that Seattle can pull this one out at home. I think you look back at week 1, and obviously the Rams are the better team here, week 1, and what they did to them last year. But later on in the season, you give that Seattle team another shot at LA, and I think that Mike McDonald coach team played really well against the Rams this past year in Baltimore. I think you get another shot. I think the Seahawks stun the Rams and beat them in week 9, moving into their bye week with 3 wins, so 3-6, coming off a bye on the road against San Francisco. I mean, is anybody in any disagreements here that San Francisco is not the better team even off of an extra week for the Seahawks? I don't think so. Next week, off of a bye, I actually have Arizona going into Seattle and beating them. I think the bye week for a divisional opponent is huge. I think Arizona, especially week 12, probably gets healthier. I think that's the reality as the schedule goes on for every team. But Arizona gets healthier. They beat the Seahawks week 12. Week 13, the Jets off of a bye. It's really tough. They're getting all these teams off byes. Jets off of a bye. Seattle traveling to New York. I don't love that for the Seahawks. I think the Jets win that game. I'll switch the schedule over for you guys so you can see it here as well. But yeah, I think the Jets win that game. Week 14, I do think the Seahawks get revenge against the Arizona Cardinals here. I think it's a split between these two teams. I think that makes a lot of sense. Week 15, you're going to get Green Bay off of a mini bye. As tough as that is, I got a weird feeling Seattle pulls this one out. I think this is a grinded out type game. Green Bay riding high, probably close to clinching a playoff spot as of now. Tough environment, tough game. It would be Sunday Night Football, right? Sunday Night Football. This is a primetime game that I think is a little more difficult for Green Bay to walk into and win. And you remember the primetime game late. I may have even been week 15 last year, now I think about it, or week 14. Giants, Packers. Green Bay put up a stinker. Like, I think it's a different team. It's a different year, but I think Seattle can win that game. Week 16, I think Seattle beats Minnesota at home, but I think they drop their final 2. I think they lose to the Bears on Thursday, which would be Thursday, what? The 20... Let's make sure you have this date right. 26th. So Christmas, the day after Christmas, is that right? Day after Christmas? Sure, let's go with that. They lose that game on the road, and they lose week 18 to the Rams. I think they split with the Rams. So that would leave the Seahawks at 6-11 with a 2-4 divisional record, a 5-7 conference record, 4-2 versus teams with losing records from last year, but 2-9 versus teams with winning records from last year. That's the Seattle Seahawks schedule. 6-11 seems pretty reasonable to me. I don't know about you guys. Leave in the comments your thoughts, what you think the Seattle Seahawks record will be. Before we talk about the Denver Broncos, I want to give a brief shout out to our sponsor, Better. If you guys aren't on Better, especially now, it's July 31st. Tomorrow, August 1st, we will start talking about the player projections on Better. You need to get on. It is the best way to play fantasy sports. You can pick higher or lower, more or less on your favorite fantasy players, whether they're going to get more than X amount of yards for the season, more than X amount of touchdowns for the season. You can predict it all on Better. If you go to my profile, any of my socials, you can look in the description as well here. You can use code LEADS, LEADS, to get up to $250 deposit match for your first deposit. So if you put 100 in, they'll give you 100 back to play with. Free money. Take advantage of it. But let's move to I'm going to get this out of here. Let's move to the Denver Broncos schedule. Now, this is really interesting too, because as I've been going through the AFC West teams, let's just get this out of the way. Week 1, we have Seattle beating them. But as I've been moving through the AFC West teams, I find it really hard to believe the Broncos can consistently compete with those mid-level teams. I look at their games against the Chargers. I look at their games against the Raiders. I think it's really hard to find a world where the Denver Broncos can find ways to consistently compete with those teams. I don't think that Denver is built to do that right now. I think they could be headed in the right direction. Kind of got to wait to see. But week 1, loss on the road to Seattle. Week 2, at home against Pittsburgh. Not a game they should win. I think it's a game they do win. But the next 5 weeks, guys, they're not going to travel to Tampa and beat the Bucs. I think the Bucs match up really, really well. They're deep in the receiver room in the pass game, and I struggled to believe, especially without Justin Simmons, that Denver can keep up with that. They're going to travel to New York, getting the Jets off a mini bye. They're not going to win that game. The Raiders will beat them on the road. Chargers off a full bye will beat them on the road. As wild as it sounds, I think the Saints on Thursday, a short week, beat Denver. I think they do beat Denver. Next week, though, Denver off of a mini bye. Week 8 hosting Carolina. I think the Broncos win that game. So that would put them at, what we got here, 2-6 to start the season. 2-6 to start the season, which, it's not terrible. It's really not terrible, but you move down the line and you hope to scratch out 4 or 5 wins here to maybe compete for that last wild card spot, depending on how many wins it is. I don't see it. I really, really don't see it. So week 9, traveling to Baltimore. I have Baltimore winning that game. Week 10, traveling to Kansas City. I have Kansas City winning that game. I don't think anybody's going to disagree with me there. You guys may disagree with me here. Week 11, I have them hosting Atlanta, coming off of 2 bad losses, raising a standard, though, of the opponent they're playing, getting a lesser good team coming in. I think Atlanta falls to Denver. I think Denver gets their 3rd win of the year here, right? Yep. 3rd win of the year here, but you just look at the rest of the schedule. Week 12, you got to travel to Vegas again. I think Vegas is a better team. Week 13, you're going to host Cleveland off of their mini bye. I don't think they're going to beat them. Off of a bye against the Indianapolis Colts, I do think the Broncos pull one out there. They squeak one out. But week 16, traveling to LA Sunday, nope, you're not going to get that done. Week 17, traveling to Cincy on a mini bye. Nope. The Bengals have a mini bye. Nope, not going to happen. Week 18, hosting the Chiefs. And as much as I do believe the Chiefs will have the division clinched at this point, probably still going to be playing for seeding because this conference is going to be uber competitive. I have the Chiefs winning that. So that would put the Broncos at 4-13 with an 0-6 division record and a 2-10 conference record. 1-7 versus losing teams, 3-6 versus winning teams. Oddly enough, we have them playing up to their opponents, winning all of their games at home, going 500 at home, but 0-9 on the road. 3-6 versus winning teams, 2-6 versus previous playoff teams. So that is how those two shake out. Now, we are almost done with the West series, but we are officially done with the AFC West. So, as it stands right now, the Kansas City Chiefs, currently in our record predictions, win the AFC West and have the best record overall in the AFC at 12-5. We have the Las Vegas Raiders at 8-9. We have the Los Angeles Chargers at 7-10, and we have the Denver Broncos at 4-13. Now, I made a video, and I talked about it in the last time we had this podcast on, that I think it's only going to take 9 wins to get that last spot in the AFC. Raiders could compete. Chargers maybe compete. The Broncos don't really have a chance, at least in my opinion. But we wait to see. If you guys are new, make sure you leave a like on this video. Make sure you comment and make sure you subscribe. If you're listening on Spotify, obviously make sure to follow too. But check out the next episode, which will be posted shortly after this one, on episode 8 NFC West. The final two teams, Los Angeles Rams, Arizona Cardinals, to round out the AFC West. I appreciate you guys hopping on. I appreciate you guys watching and listening. God bless. See you next time.